Let's bring Rick Newman into the stream to talk about President Trump's meltdown and how that may help President-elect Joe Biden. Rick?
Hey, Adam. So a lot of strategists trying to figure out what are the political implications for legislation, some of the priorities we've been talking about, further stimulus bills and stuff like that, of what happened yesterday. And this is really quite interesting. So what is happening? I mean, President Trump has basically marginalized himself, and he has effectively split the Republican Party. So in just 24 hours or a little bit more than that, Trump has gone from potentially being this Republican kingmaker, this sort of former Republican president with an iron grip on the party, to somebody who's outside the mainstream, and somebody that politicians in power may just not have to kowtow to. So this probably, political analysts are saying this probably improves Joe Biden's position even further after Democrats won control of the Senate. So Joe Biden now will have full Democratic control of Congress. And he might get more cooperation on some moderate proposals, such as infrastructure, such as climate, green energy spending, perhaps even healthcare. He might get more cooperation from some Republicans than he would have if Trump were basically holding his condemnation over their heads, because Trump's condemnation doesn't mean that much anymore. And some Republicans are so disgusted with him, they don't care whether Trump approves of what their policies or their votes are anymore. So but Democrats do not have sweeping control of the legislative agenda in Congress, but Trump has given them more control than they had 2 days ago.
Hey, Rick, I don't know how much you could talk about this, but we had Scaramucci on the show earlier, and he was telling us that his sources were saying that President Trump was looking to pardon himself. I'm curious just what you know about that and whether or not he has the ability to do it.
It's an unresolved question whether Trump can pardon himself. And there's this one very interesting wrinkle, which is that some legal experts, and I'm not one of them, I'm just following what they say, but some legal experts think that if Trump pardons himself, it will, in a way, force the Joe Biden Justice Department, which we know will now be headed by Merrick Garland, to challenge that pardon by actually bringing charges against Trump and taking it to court to test whether a president can actually pardon himself. Because if a president can pardon himself, you get into reductio ad absurdum, because a president can come into office, commit crimes all over the place, knowing that he can just pardon himself before he leaves office. And
Rick?
So it's basically a license to commit crimes if this is something a president can actually do.
Rick, I thought this was settled back in the 1970s with President Nixon, when his Justice Department actually issued, is it a memorandum on, no, a president cannot pardon themselves.
Well, look, President Trump does not go along with norms and even with some rules and laws. And we'll see if he actually tries to do this. Can I just point out one of the interesting dynamics I noticed today was when Nancy Pelosi, she called on Mike Pence by name to begin the process of invoking the 25th Amendment to get Trump out of office. Nancy Pelosi, she might be right that Trump is dangerous, but there's also a political element to this. Nancy Pelosi is further driving a wedge between Mike Pence and Donald Trump, which further splits the Republican Party into two. It practically looks like two different parties at this point. And remember, one of the other thoughts was that Trump might step down, Mike Pence becomes president, and then Mike Pence, through a prior agreement between the two, would be the one to pardon Trump, which we know would be valid from the Nixon era. But now Mike Pence and Donald Trump are apparently at it with each other. So maybe Mike Pence wouldn't even do that.
We'll have to tune into the next episode of White House Chronicles. Rick Newman, thank you very much.